98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com presents the Mid-Columbia Today Show with Mark Bailey. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive. Now, here's Mark Bailey.
Good morning. It's 8:05. It is a Wednesday, 17th of June. Thank you for joining us this morning. Cameron Eisenberg's producing, and here's who's on the show today. Here in a few moments, we'll dial up Kelly Howsley-Glover, Wasco County Community Development Director, but in this case, we're talking to her in her role as the co-chair of the Rowena Long-Term Recovery Group. It, of course, has been a year and a week since the Rowena fire. And we will discuss where the recovery effort is at. We know it's going to take a long, long time, and we'll find out what they've been able to do so far and what the plans are for the next little while. Second half of the show, Rich Polkinghorn, White Salmon Valley School District Superintendent. School, of course, out in the White Salmon area for the summer. So we'll talk to Rich about what they might be doing this summer and a few other things. You know, before I get to the what this day means stuff. I saw a little note on my phone, a little news note. I guess it really isn't news, but it is. And Cameron can weigh in on this a tad, maybe. Depends if he cares. Because this will show how out of touch apparently I am and how I don't pay attention to some things. Apparently McDonald's, there's a big deal here. They've brought back the fried apple pie. After 35 years, apparently. And here's where I show you I'm out of touch. I didn't know they switched from fried to baked 35 years ago. I thought they were still making the same old thing. I had seen these signs. I went, well, what's the big deal here?
Well, Mark, I didn't know they had fried apple pie 35 years ago.
There's your age difference there. You weren't around when they fried it. So, between the two of us.
I didn't see that, actually.
Well, you have an excuse. You weren't born when they made the switch.
That's true.
So nothing has changed. I was a younger adult around your age when they made the change. Okay. And I didn't notice. Because I wasn't a fan of the product. I mean,
it didn't come up on your radar or anything? No.
So I was just, admittedly, I was taken aback that now I understand why this is a big deal, apparently, to some folks. Because they haven't done this for 35 years, and I thought they'd been doing it for the last 35 years, like they had done before.
I'd never even thought about it.
And
frankly.
You never thought about it because there had been no change made in your lifetime. No, I thought I'd throw that out there. It's which shows you how absolutely oblivious I can be to cultural things, the pop culture. I am completely out of tune, out of touch. I'm sure these are
just
good.
McDonald's.
Well, I might be careful there. Actually, I think the ones around here, by the way, are having had to stop at them when I travel for games and things. The ones in this area are really well done and very good. They are. I will tip my cap to them. They do a really good job. So, anyway. But yeah, I now know why it's a big deal. I didn't know why. It's like, okay, they've had apple pie on their menu for as long as I can remember. I didn't know they had changed from fried to baked 35 years ago. No clue whatsoever. Anyway, I'll move on. Here's what this day has meant and what it means, at least to some people. 1775, the Revolutionary War Battle of Bunker Hill resulted in a costly victory for the British, who suffered heavy losses. 1885, the Statue of Liberty, disassembled and packed into 214 separate crates, arrived in New York Harbor aboard the French frigate Isere. I don't know how to pronounce this at all. Isere. I apologize. I took a year of French at college, mainly because the girl who lived next door to me took French, and you can go from there. But I didn't absorb any of it at all, apparently. 1930, President Herbert Hoover signed the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, which boosted U.S. tariffs to historically high levels, prompting foreign retaliation. 1963, the U.S. Supreme Court in Abington School District versus Schempp struck down 8-1 rules requiring the recitation of the Lord's Prayer or reading of biblical verses in public schools. I apparently can't read today. 1972, President Richard Nixon's eventual downfall began with the arrest of 5 burglars inside the Democratic headquarters in Washington, D.C.'s Watergate complex. This day in 1994, you also missed this, Cameron. After leading police on a slow-speed chase on Southern California freeways on national television, O.J. Simpson was arrested and charged with murder and the deaths of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman. I traced that moment to the moment where network news on a national level spiraled downhill. From being a serious, important thing in life to, what are we doing here?
You know, Mark, I think you just had to be there for that, because I
Exactly. I know. You know no different. This is like the apple pie example. You know no different. I will point to they preempted an NBA Finals game to show it. I remember that. It was the
really?
Knicks. It was a Knicks game, actually, coincidentally. And yeah, I mean, they just stopped everything to show this, and there was nothing. This was not a great traffic chase. To call it a chase is
it was
a misnomer.
A slow
they
speed
followed
chase.
it. They followed him. It was. I point to that moment being because people watched it. To the moment when I think network news on a national level went downhill, and quit informing us of things that we really needed to know, like what our government does, etc. Anyway, I better move on. I'm on that one. I'm either getting a standing ovation or boos, and there's no in between on that one. 2008, hundreds of same-sex couples got married across California on the first full day that same-sex marriage became legal by order of the state's highest court. An estimated 11,000 same-sex couples will be married under the California law in its first 3 months. In 2015, 9 black worshipers were killed when a gunman opened fire during a Bible study gathering at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. White supremacist Dylan Roof was captured the following day. He would be convicted and sentenced to death eventually. 2021, the Supreme Court in a 7-2 ruling left intact the entire Affordable Care Act, rejecting a major Republican-led effort to kill the national health care law known informally as Obamacare. And in 2021 as well, President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law, creating the first new national holiday since the establishment of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Of course, that is coming up on Friday. Don't have much for days today. It's Global Garbage Man Day. So we salute the garbage man, and we should salute them, by the way. It is World Croc Day today. That's the crocodile, and it's being aware of, in some cases, endangered species. And finally, for our food today, this is somewhat coincidental to what I started with. It's National Apple Strudel Day today, which really isn't quite a fried apple pie, but it's in the same family. There it is for what it's worth. May or may not have been a whole lot. It's 8:12. We'll come back with Kelly Howsley-Glover after this.
Eastside Paving has a local team of professional paving experts ready to handle any size job for you. Eastside Paving's 35 years of experience provides the knowledge, procedures, and resources to ensure the job is done correct. Licensed, bonded, and insured in Oregon and Washington, Eastside Paving specializes in industrial, commercial, and residential jobs. Whether it's overlay, parking lots, private roads, patching, or driveway resurfacing, Eastside Paving has you covered. Call Rick Saran today for a free estimate. 503-519-6478. EastsidePaving.com. CCB 68962.
Dear Savvy, Toyota says you can have it all. With the Camry, the Corolla, and the Corolla Cross. You've got the tech, you've got the drive, and you've got Toyota value that spells affordable. You ready? Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bi-Coastal Media, Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
8:15 in the morning on Mid-Columbia Today. We're joined now by Wasco County Community Development Director and the co-chair of the Rowena Long-Term Recovery Group, Kelly Howsley-Glover, joins us. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Mark.
And having you on, it's been a little more than a year since the Rowena fire, a year and about 6 days, actually. It took place on June 11th, 2025, and we knew it was going to be a long time for the area there to recover, and it's been a long haul already, and we got a long ways to go, obviously. But Kelly, is first of all, how is progress going on? And we've talked to you over the course of the last year about this, but how is progress going on trying to help people rebuild in the Rowena area?
I think progress is going, according to state experts, pretty well, but that doesn't mean that there aren't still a long road ahead for many survivors. So I think we've made significant momentum over the last year and been able to pull together quite a bit of resources for community members, but also want to acknowledge that recovery is a really tough process for folks, and it involves a lot of various aspects, including dealing with insurance, sort of emotionally grappling with what they've gone through. So it's a steep road for folks.
One thing that did happen, of course, in the past few months was the Gorge Commission for the scenic area, which Rowena is in, passing some of the streamlined opportunities for people to be able to just simply rebuild, and that was the point of it. It took a few months to get there. Where is that now, or is that having an effect in helping people at least be able to get to the next step a little bit quicker?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I was really privileged to be a part of that process and bring that before the Gorge Commission last July. So we're almost a year when we brought that before the Commission. Really grateful for the partnership and working with them and the Forest Service. We're going through actually our amendments to our ordinance, and that's going to be heard for the first time from the Wasco County Board today. But what we were able to do in getting that through the Gorge Commission is be able to implement directly from the amended management plan. And that's enabled us to allow for people to stay in RVs long-term on their property and also build temporary storage structures, which were two things that we heard very loud and clear from residents they needed. And it's also things we can do outside the scenic area. So it was really important from an equity perspective to make that available for Rowena residents.
I would be curious to know, and this is probably hard to track, but do we have an idea of how many people are looking to rebuild after losing homes there? And I would imagine there might be some who just go, I look at the area right now, and because let's face it, that area had fire scares before this, and maybe start to think, I think I want to I'll rebuild doing it someplace else. I mean, do we have an idea of how many people are actually going to try to rebuild out there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it's important to stress recovery looks very different for every single household that's gone through it. I've heard anecdotally from some of the survivors or community members that at least 2 or 3 households have decided not to rebuild, that it's, like you said, just too fire prone, and I think the trauma and their life circumstances has made it just too challenging for them to move forward. So I would anticipate over the next, because recovery can take a national average of 7 to 10 years. I would expect that number may balloon up to 5 to 6 people, whether it's just having a difficulty with financing, insurance. One of the things that's a particular challenge for redevelopment in this area, given the size of the lots, is also infrastructure. So I don't think we know the full range of people that are not going to be able to redevelop, but I have heard anecdotally from at least three families.
You mentioned infrastructure. That gets us, that's sewer and water, obviously, for the most part. And I know from meetings that I observed, especially at the county commission level, that there was aging infrastructure out there to begin with. What are some of the hurdles to be able to get the infrastructure put back together? Is money the biggest issue here?
For community water systems, so that's really Thule Terrace and then Rowena Crest Manor. Yes, money is going to be a pretty significant challenge because those are small quasi-municipal systems, so they're little water districts. that require quite a bit of funding. As far as as far as septic systems, everybody out in Rowena is on septic systems rather than a municipal system. Mm-hmm. And the challenge there is, again, really small lot sizes where they may not have space to grow or space to replace. And so I've been working really closely with partners at Public Health and also a number of really important experts at the state to analyze a variety of possible solutions, including shared septic systems and also shared wells. So we're really trying to look at it from all angles and produce infrastructure solutions. Mm-hmm. That also, I think it's important to say, this is not a unique situation in Rowena. This is kind of a common occurrence elsewhere in the county, so it's something we're looking to be able to scale up in the future.
So the long-term recovery group, what are some of the things you've been able to do so far in this first year after the fire?
Yeah, thanks. So we've pulled together a variety of leaders from local, regional, and state agencies, as well as some survivors that sit on the long-term recovery board, and then we have a series of committees that do quite a bit of work. A lot of what we were able to do initially was really set up some of the infrastructure for helping with recovery infrastructure in terms of administrative functions, including establishing disaster case management, what we're calling recovery coordination. And we've got a couple recovery coordinators that are housed with Mid-Columbia Community Action Council. And their job is really to walk through survivors all aspects of recovery and help them find resources. In a lot of cases, really early on, recovery coordinators were focused on getting people into permanent housing situations if they were renters who were displaced. And now we're really trying to bring resources to bear for homeowners. And that includes pulling together various donations that we've received. So we received $162,000 worth of building materials from some partners statewide, including paint. So we've been distributing that. We received mattresses from Downey Sleep Center, worked on distributing that. And then obviously lots of our very generous community members, but also organizations donated to the United Way Rowena Relief Fund. So we've been working with a variety of partners who also bring other resources, including funds, to the table to start to distribute that money. And that's been going on for about 8 months, and we've successfully distributed about $150,000 from that. And a lot of that funding goes to help people, for instance, with replacing septics has been a really popular one. So we've done that. Early on, we were involved in coordinating a massive effort to keep an eye on landslides, because we know that can be a pretty significant hazard post-fire when it removes a lot of the natural vegetation and destabilizes. So we've been keeping an eye on weather, monitoring that with the National Weather Service out of Pendleton and emergency management. We're looking at fire resilience and helping people, understand defensible space. It's kind of a lengthy list of things that we've been engaged in, and we're really grateful for the partnership with community members who have helped direct the work that we do.
You mentioned identifying funding sources. How is the group situated as far as funds to continue this work that, as you mentioned, it's going to be possibly 7 to 10 years to get this area fully recovered?
So we, as a organization, we had limited funding. It was mostly to cover some of the administrative costs for managing the financial aspects, particularly transferring United Way funds over to accounts that then could be distributed. We received that from philanthropic partners through the Oregon Community Fund. And similarly, we got philanthropic donations for disaster case management, and they've been able to maintain that, I think, for another 6 months or so. One of the things that we're now looking at as a long-term recovery group is how we continue on to the future, particularly now that we have an organization and the knowledge base and the skill set, how we can leverage that regionally in instances when other disasters occur. So funding is a challenge for all organizations like this, and funding is a challenge definitely for survivors. So it's something that we're consistently working on.
Now, you mentioned the Rowena Fire Relief Recovery Fund. I think the United Way is still taking donations for that, aren't they not?
I'm so glad you recommended that. Yes, they are still accepting donations, and those monies are all that funding is going directly to survivors to help with really significant needs. And folks can find that givebutter.com/Rowena, or you can find it on the United Way of the Columbia Gorge website. And again, all of those funds proceeds go directly to Rowena residents. And we're doing it through a process where we bring together additional partners that can also leverage additional dollars that they have for disaster relief. And so we're really seeing a multiplication of the funding we're able to give folks.
Do we know from the people who have had to try to rebuild from this? I mean, insurance is always an issue, and how quickly insurance companies respond. Do we have an idea how that's going?
I think it's been challenging for residents. I've heard everything from insurance is going too fast to insurance is going very slow, and it takes a lot of time to manage the insurance and the insurance claims. So I think, again, it's a situation where it's going to vary individual household to individual household and who their insurance carrier is. But the thing I want to remind listeners today is that for this community in particular, we did have a lot of under or uninsured households. So folks that did have insurance, yes, they're having to deal with some challenges, but we do have a lot of residents and property owners who were uninsured.
I'm going to admit insurance going too fast was not an answer I was expecting to be a part of that. that one.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I think it's probably confusing to listeners too when I say that. What that means is that the process to rebuild is really complicated. It feels for folks like managing their own little significant housing project, and insurance has often given deadlines from when they can spend the funding, and it needs to be kind of within a year or within 2 years. And that's presented challenges, particularly when residents have other challenges like the infrastructure issues. Yeah. So folks wish the insurance could wait for a couple of years. That's what I've heard. Yeah.
And finally here, we tend to talk about, and rightfully so, the infrastructure issues, and the actual nuts and bolts of rebuilding. But I would imagine for many of the people who've been impacted by this, there is the personal, emotional side of this, and probably needs have arisen there as well.
Yeah, so smart of you to say that. It's something that the long-term recovery group has been grappling with really recently at the request of residents. A year ago, 6 months ago, most residents weren't in a place, from what we heard from them, from self-reporting, where they were even really ready to grapple with the trauma that they went through. And now we're hearing a year later, it's really where the needs are starting to show up for folks, and they're really needing support. And so we're bringing together a variety of resources to help support. Recovery coordination is also a really good tool for survivors. And we're hoping to continue to provide those very important mental health and spiritual and emotional resources for folks, because it's tough. I think denial was a big part of everybody's experience, including people in the community. And a year on, the reality is really sunk in for folks.
Mm-hmm. For those who are still in need of help through this, I'm sure you've contacted many of them as a group, or through, whether it be McCad, Wasco County, all the various organizations involved in this. But if someone still needs some help out there, how do they get a hold of somebody?
Yeah. There's a couple ways that they can get in touch. The first thing we recommend is to make a connection with a recovery coordinator. that's going to be unlock a lot of doors for folks. So they can email Rowena Recovery at mccac.com to get started. If you can't remember that email, we've got it all over our website, which is also a great portal of all the resources we've pulled together, and that's rowenarecovery.org. And so they can go on there, look at what we've been up to, take a look at the variety of resources that we have available, including partner resources, and get a lot of really good information, as well as get that email for recovery coordination. And that, I think, is the key to unlocking access to the funds and other resources.
Kelly Howsley-Glover, Wasco County Community Development Director, also the co-chair of the Rowena Long-Term Recovery Group. Kelly, I know you've got a county commission meeting in about 30 minutes, so we'll let you go. Thanks for doing this. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it so much, Mark. Thank you so much, and thanks to all the listeners.
Thank you very much, Kelly, with us on the program at 8:31. We'll come back, take a look at what's in the news, which, unfortunately, fire plays a large role in that, at least the restrictions we need to have to be sure, hopefully, we don't have another one of these. And then Rich Polkinghorn, White Sand Valley School District Superintendent, will join us. More on MCT right after this.
Upgrading your home's heating doesn't have to be overwhelming. Hi, this is Kimberly. A&E Plumbing, Heating & Air's Great Northwest Series is a ducted heat pump designed for homes we see across Oregon and Washington. Whether you use gas or electric, the system adapts to your needs. It qualifies for Energy Trust of Oregon rebates and federal tax credits to keep money in your pocket. Plus, you get 12 years of parts and labor protection and 10-year financing at 2.99% with approved credit. Call A&E today to see what we can do for you. CCB number 203004.
Unlock the potential of your local business with Summit Embroidery Works. Promote your brand with custom embroidery that reflects your unique identity. Whether it's uniforms, promotional items, or corporate gifts, we bring your vision to life with precision and style, proudly serving our community with top-notch quality and exceptional service.
This is Dawn from Summit Embroidery Works. Discover how we can help your business stand out.
Visit summitembroideryworks.com today and let us put your logo to work for you.
Coffee for Mid-Columbia Today guests is provided by Hood River Coffee Roasters, the gorgeous local coffee roasters, on Tucker Road on the Heights in Hood River.
8:34 in the morning, checking our news. While Oregon's first 2026 heat wave is winding down, heat and drought are expected to worsen through the summer and will heighten wildfire risk across Oregon, spurring Governor Tina Kotek to declare a state of emergency. Kotek made the declaration Tuesday in an executive order, which will make it easier for local and state fire authorities to access all available resources, including various firefighting crews, aerial support, ground resources, and emergency personnel to prevent and respond to fires. The emergency will last until the end of the year or the end of the fire season. Kotek also advised Oregonians to sign up for the statewide emergency alert system, OR Alert, to have an evacuation plan, to have an emergency go kit ready. The Oregon Department of Forestry put into effect a regulated closure in the Dalles unit, the Central Oregon Fire Protection District. Among the restrictions now in effect on ODF-protected lands, fireworks are prohibited and smoking is prohibited while traveling except in vehicles on improved roads. Open fires are prohibited except in designated areas. The use of portable appliances using liquefied or bottled fuels are allowed in clear areas free of flammable vegetation, but 1 shovel and a gallon of water or a 2.5-pound fire extinguisher must be on hand. Chainsaw use and the cutting, grinding, and welding of metal is prohibited between 1 in the afternoon and 8 in the evening. Motor vehicles are prohibited on ODF lands except on improved roads. Mid-Columbia Fire and Rescue dealt with 2 small grass fires yesterday. First crews extinguished a fire behind Fred Meyer in the Dalles during the early afternoon that led to shoppers being asked to leave the store. MCFR says they were able to return a short time later. Later in the day, MCFR and Dallasport fire crews were able to knock down a small grass fire on East 9th in the Dalles quickly. With high winds and temperature and low humidity, MCFR advises to use caution in doing anything outside. The Wasco State Patrol is looking for witnesses to a fatal Monday morning hit and run involving a man riding a tricycle on Highway 97 near Maryhill. The WSP says the incident occurred on northbound Highway 97 at milepost 1 shortly before 6:15 Monday morning. WSP is seeking witnesses who travel through the area Monday morning and may have seen anything relevant to the collision or who travel through that area and have dash camera footage from that time. If anyone has any information regarding the collision or if you saw the male on the tricycle in the area prior to the collision, contact Detective Connor Schwilke via email at Connor CONOR.Schwilke, SCHWILKE, at WSP.WA.gov. The victim was identified as 69-year-old James Bourne II from Indianapolis, Indiana. Our current temperatures, 55 in Stevenson, 64 in the Dalles, 60 in Hood River. It's 8:36 in the morning.
Hey, it's Zach from Del Carpine Automotive. You know those tall Sprinter vans that look like they could secretly double as apartments? Yeah, we work on those, and we know them really well. Whether it's your adventure rig, work van, or mystery mobile full of camping gear and snacks from 2022, we've got you covered. We're now just 10 minutes up the hill in our great new location in Hood River. Come see us. From Mercedes and Ford, big rigs to Sprinters, no jobs too big or small. At Del Carpine, we work on them all. Family owned and locally trusted.
Looking for summer fun for the kids? Sign up now at Hood River Valley Parks and Recreation for all-day summer kids camps and youth activities. From sports, STEM, theater, and outdoor adventures to basketball, soccer, mountain biking, water sports, and more. Plus, financial assistance is available. Spots fill fast. Register today at hoodriverparksandrec.org.
KIHR is just a command away on your Alexa device. Enabling the KIHR skill is easy. Just say, Alexa, enable KIHR skill. Say, Alexa, open KIHR.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
8:40 in the morning, White Sand Valley School District Superintendent Rich Polkinghorn joins us. Good morning, Rich.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
All right, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well, thanks.
Well,
summer break now, so it's much more relaxed.
Yes, the school year is over. You have wrapped things up for the school year, so I guess first of all, looking back on it, how did things go?
Yeah, good question. I think overall, school year was good. You know, I think the big reflection of the year, of course, was the successful passage of our bond and levy. That sort of dominated the year for me, all the work leading up to the election, and then post-election, all the work that we've been doing to get ready for a busy summer of beginning the design process. But you know, we had some good results with some of our read efforts in the elementary school with our reading program, some of our efforts around attendance. We saw some encouraging data. So, you know, overall good year. You know, I think kids made it through, staff made it through. We got through the last day of school, and you know, happy to, of course, always a happy day to send all the kids and staff home for the summer.
I know here recently you did a video on social media about the bond project, giving the updates on it. So I'll ask you in that vein, because that has been, as you mentioned, really a focus for this district now, and because even more of a focus really now that the bond is passed. Working on a K-12 campus in the early stages of this effort, what are the updates? What have you been able to accomplish in the past few weeks?
Yeah, I think as we shared on our video, really the first big step was hiring an architecture firm. We hired a firm out of the Tri-Cities area, Design West Architects, and they're actually on site today doing some field verifications. I think they're just measuring and making sure all the, you know, as drawn blueprints are actually accurate in terms of the, you know, when you go out and actually start measuring things and getting very specific data on the facilities. We also had a chance, the architects came out a couple weeks ago and got to meet with some of our staff to do some educational spec. So meeting with teachers and office workers and find out kind of like in these new design spaces, what are you hoping to see? Just so the architects get some input from the people who are going to use those spaces about how to design them. So that part's been going on in terms of from the design side. Actually, today after this call, we have after I get off the phone with you, my next meeting this morning will be with Moody's to do some work on our bond rating. So we're going to make a presentation to Moody's to talk about the White Salmon area, our school district finances, and then Moody will issue a bond rating for us as we prepare to sell our bonds in the next few weeks. So we need to do that step before we can sell the bond. That sale's coming up in about 2-3 weeks.
And we probably should
be. So that's where we're at right now. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned Moody's. Why this is so important, because this will play, frankly, a key factor in how much you're able to realize from this sale.
Yeah, like our rating determines exactly how much we can sell the bonds for and what we can bring in terms of our revenues. And I'll be honest with you, Mark, I don't all the way understand the nuances of how the bond sale works. We do work with that helps us through really brokers the sale for us. So they'll be on the call with us to help present information. But yeah, we of course want to get a good rating. But they also explain that, in Washington State, at least, the state of Washington will back our bonds as well. So even if our rating doesn't come in as high as the state of Washington's, we're backed up by Washington. They'll guarantee, the repayment of the bond. So, but we still got to go through the process to try and get as much premium out of these bonds as we can.
Well, also, I don't know that something this meeting is going to delve into this, but there's always a timing issue as well, and there's a bit of art and science to this that I'm pretty sure you and I don't completely understand, but there will be an effort to time this at the best possible moment to realize as much as you can from it.
That's right. You want to time it with the market, and same thing. It's just getting as much value out of the sale as we can. We talked at our board meeting last month about also the amount of bonds we're going to go for, and I think we just set on $40 million. And really, there's some strategy behind that as well. Once we start to collect the bond revenues, then there's a timeline to pay those back. So we don't want to collect all the money up front because we won't be able to spend it all in the timeline we're provided or required. So we'll take about half in the first sale. And then as we get through the project, we'll do another sale of bonds later, just so we're working, with the project managers, looking at our schedule and making sure that we're bringing the revenues in when we need it and not just taking one big chunk and not being able to spend it all in the time. And I don't know what the timeline is, but I also remember from my years in Hood River, same thing. Like we had a timeline to spend those funds down. So.
And there is a reality. I mean, construction isn't really right around the corner here. I mean, I think you've told me you're still a couple of years out.
Yeah, I think one of the big prizes, if you will, from working with Design West and with our project managers is really the energy to get this project started as quickly as possible. So really, we're looking at next spring.
Okay.
Breaking ground.
All right.
Yeah. So that's a really.
I mean that's a fairly
fast timeline for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it is. It's an aggressive timeline. Yep.
You are breaking up a little bit. That's why we're having a little issue here. But I was saying because usually it does tend to take on. And because this isn't just a rehabilitation project. This is a major construction project in the end. And it usually does take
a big overhaul.
Yeah, it's a big. I mean, it takes some time for those to get planned even before they even come together. And then I will be curious to know. Like I know you guys have accounted for this, but how much is being put in as a cushion to deal with the potential of rising costs? Because certainly you dealt with that just trying to give people an estimate for the bond measure campaign in the first place because costs were flying up as you were trying to do this.
Yeah, that's actually the reason why the architecture firm and the project managers want to move fast is because of escalation, sort of year-over-year escalation. So they feel like as we've talked about this project, we've talked about it in terms of phases. And so they really want to attack the first phase of this project to be the elementary school or middle school, that intermediate school, middle school rehabilitation into an elementary school. They want to do that first because we can actually empty that building out in the 27-28 school year and have no students on that campus. So the contractors can come in and just hammer that thing out and work without having to work around students or staff. Mm-hmm. And then that allows us to then bid the high school project following year. And that bidding allows us to lock in a quote, and that quote will hold for the 2 years of the duration of the high school project. So they really have this aggressive timeline because of the the year-over-year escalation. And so, as I've talked about it with our board and staff a little bit, it's going to require us to be comfortable being uncomfortable for the next few years. Like, we're going to be displaced. We're going to be moving staff and students around to try and stage these construction projects, but it's all in the effort to get these projects started and done as quickly as possible to avoid sort of what could be a 5-year build. We can actually get it done in 3.
Mm-hmm. And of course, that also then allows your elementary school to get moved in much more quickly, and then you can begin to address what you do with that property down the road.
That's right, and that's the conversation that will be coming, sooner than later for sure. But I think we haven't just settled on this yet, and we'll be talking about it at our board meeting next week. But really, the phasing plan, it may look like we even though we get that elementary school done and we can move the K through 6th grades into that new building, we'll still need a place for the middle schoolers for a couple of years. And so we just talked last night a little bit about maybe we move the middle school down to Whitson for a couple of years while the high school campus is being renovated. But we still may use Whitson for some things like that in the upcoming years. But then certainly at some point, this community will want us to engage in some conversation about the future of Whitson Elementary School. Yeah, and we'll have that when the time is right.
I'd be curious to know, how well can an elementary school serve as a temporary middle school? Because I know the two have different needs and also, frankly, different sizes of children.
That's right. Exactly. We talked about that last night. Like, there's just tiny toilets in that school. What are we going to do about that? Mm-hmm. So I think we can mitigate a lot of those things fairly simply. Mm-hmm. But it's a nice. It still is a facility that's serviceable, and it puts a roof over our kids' head, puts them in a permanent location, or at least even semi-permanent, mm-hmm. rather than propping up a bunch of portables for 3 years. And and when we start the high school project, we'll need to have like half the high school off campus somewhere for a year, and then switch. As we address the A court remodel, like all those classrooms will need to be somewhere else for a year. And then when we do the upper part of the campus with the library and C court and the shops, same thing. So I suppose really a 2-part project, but we will need to displace students and staff for a couple of years. So it's like I said, it's going to be uncomfortable for a couple of years here. But all in the spirit of, once these projects are done, we're going to have really beautiful facilities to jump back into, and that's worth it.
Just got a couple minutes left here, and I wanted to mention this real quick. I noted this as well, and going away from the project that you're so deeply in, but you had some Columbia High School students with a bent toward engineering really come up with a pretty interesting device they're going to show off down in San Francisco.
Yeah, the Project Invent students, pretty amazing group, couple kids there. Yeah, for sure. We're proud of them and the work they're doing, and really thoughtful. Mm-hmm. The more I work with kids and with students like that, the more you just gives you hope in the future. Like there's people out there doing amazing things and using their skills for the betterment of our.
But apparently, what they're doing is designing a device to, I guess, it connects color or converts rather color into sound. And this was there's a 4th grader who's colorblind in your district to help that student. And now it's pretty apparent there are going to be applications elsewhere.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I know.
Very cool.
We tend to focus so much on, this test score and this other test score, and are we keeping up? Blah blah blah. These to me are the examples of. Yes, our schools are doing good things, and for a group of students to have the knowledge and then also the caring to take that knowledge and apply it in this way, that's a remarkable story.
I appreciate that, because I think most educators feel the same way. We get judged by our test scores, but those don't tell the whole story. So you hear things like this, and it sort of blows your doors off in terms of like how cool this is and the applications, and it really I think tells a more holistic perspective of like what's going on here at these schools, and it's pretty remarkable. We're proud of the 3 kids there.
White Sand Valley School District Superintendent Rich Polkinghorn. Rich, thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Mark. Always good to chat with you.
Good to talk with you. 8:53 in the morning. We will come back and wrap her up after this.
Eastside Paving has a local team of professional paving experts ready to handle any size job for you. Eastside Paving's 35 years of experience provides the knowledge, procedures, and resources to ensure the job is done correct. Licensed, bonded, and insured in Oregon and Washington, Eastside Paving specializes in industrial, commercial, and residential jobs. Whether it's overlay, parking lots, private roads, patching, or driveway resurfacing, Eastside Paving has you covered. Call Rick Saran today for a free estimate. 503-519-6478. EastsidePaving.com. CCB 68962.
I am Imelda Padilla. I am a daughter, a mother, a sister, and a proud member of this community. Being part of Skyline Health, both on the hospital and the foundation board, allows me to support the healthcare that this community needs to keep us strong. That's why I am committed to supporting Skyline, not just as a patient, but as a board member. This hospital makes our community stronger and healthier every day. I am Skyline.
Tune in weekday mornings at 8:05 and keep up with community events and issues with the Mid-Columbia Today Show on Mid-Columbia's news leaders, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital, Eastside Paving, and Del Carpine Automotive.
Well, it is 8:57 in the morning on Mid-Columbia Today. And on the program tomorrow morning, actually, we mentioned, kids doing great work. Hood River Valley High School, again, a couple member of the Solar Storms Solar Car team. They're headed for Texas. They do need some sponsorship help to race the solar car they've designed in a big week-long event down in Texas next month. And so we're going to learn about that tomorrow. They presented at the school board a week ago. This is just a really cool project. So we are going to have them on. Mayor of the Dalles, Rich Mays, tomorrow on the show because he's got to take off for someplace next week when he'd be scheduled to be on. So we'll have him on. Then Friday, Mount Adams Chamber of Commerce, first half of the show. That means Tamara Tappel. And second half, it'll be actually Brett Stomps, Hood River Fireworks. Of course, in 2 weeks, the fireworks show in Hood River that is funded completely by community donation. Well, underline that. It's funded by people. That's it. There's no governmental help on this one at all. So we will talk to him about what they're planning and what they need to do it. So all that coming up on Mid-Columbia Today. We'll be on to do that here. In about 48 hours to do that when we get to Friday's show. But we are pretty much done for today. Out of time. For Cameron Eisenberg, I'm Mark Bailey. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again on Thursday.
Columbia Today Show is a public affairs presentation of Bicoastal Media Columbia River. The views expressed on the program are not necessarily those of the station, parent company, or of the sponsors. We welcome your suggestions for future shows. Call us at 541-386-1511. Listen to Mid-Columbia Today where you want. Follow or subscribe to Mid-Columbia Today wherever you download your podcast to get the show delivered every day to your mobile device.